Hello there. Those are the Zerg units you can do after you mutate the layer into an hive. So the units that the larvas can do are the Ultralisk and the Defiler. And the units that the mutalisk can do a mutation are the Devourer, and the Guardian. So let's start with the Defiler. The Defiler is a unit that you can morph a larva into after you mutate a drone into a Defiler mound. The Defiler has this kind of longish, snaky body. The eyes are there, and the particular feature of the Defiler is that it has a large mouth. The mouth is huge, and it has those two tentacles, arm things. It's like that. The ability of the Defiler are the Dark Swarm, which is an ability you spawn the Defiler from an egg, and it has, even if it's not researched, the Dark Swarm cast a cloud of, in the lore, is said like insects living into the tail of the Defiler, and like bugs or like mosquitoes that block every attack from a distance. So attack at close range like Zealot or Zergling are not cancelled. Attack at area of affected damage like Siege Tank or Archon or River attack is not hindered, but attacks like Marine, Dragoon, Carrier, and whatever distance attack, single target distance attack, is hindered by the Dark Swarm. Another unit another attack that this unit can cast and another ability, because it doesn't kill, is the ability of Plague. The Plague is an ability which is not an it's kind of an attack mixed with an ability, because is not something that kills the enemy unit, but it's something that draws the enemy unit health to a very minimum number. It doesn't kill them, but like with an a Dragoon, from 80 from an 100 of health, for example, the Plague gets down the health to like 4 or 5 on 100 of health. So It's not a killing blow, but is certainly something that soft the enemy units. So the another ability or feature you can unlock by evolving at the Defiler mound is the augmentation of the Defiler energy, which to a maximum cap of 200 you can get a pool of 250. The last unit you can morph a larva into is the Ultralisk. The Ultralisk is this huge, like mammoth giant unit that can only hit ground units. It can't hit air units. It has a enormous shell, because the carapace strength can get to a maximum of 5, so if a unit has like 6 of attack, the damage, overall damage to the Ultralisk is 1, because it's like enemy attack hit point minus the number of the carapace. In the Ultralisk can be morphed. A larva can be morphed into an Ultralisk after you morph a drone into an Ultralisk cavern. The Ultralisk in the original game, the Starcraft, with no Broodwar expansion, is like that. You morph a larva and you're done. In the Broodwar expansion, though, the Ultralisk has 2 upgrades: the speed upgrade and the carapace upgrade. The way I did is I did like this kind of dark gray piece that goes under here and gets secured by this style of pieces, just so you know how I did it. Let's get back to the unit description. The Ultralisk can have a speed upgrade and a carapace upgrade in the Broodwar expansion. One last look. At the Ultralisk. So a mutalisk can morph into a guardian and a devourer. The anti-air and the anti-ground features of the mutalisk are splitted because the devourer specializes into anti-air, and it has not a anti-ground attack, and the Guardian is the opposite. The Guardian is a unit that is in both of the original Starcraft and the Starcraft Broodwar game. The Devourer is an addition of the Broodwar expansion. So, this one is a cocoon. Cocoon is basically an egg, but is like floating into the sky. It's like a mutalisk when morphing into one of those morphs itself into a cocoon that's like floating. I don't know how it's floating, but it's kind of full of gas, kind of, and and it floats. I use the cocoon like the snake people, metal snake from the Ninjago, time blade sub theme, and yeah, the Guardian is kind of like a giant floating crab thing, which is in the front. You have the mouth. In the back, you have like some appendices, and it's very flat. The design, even in the game, it's very slow, so it can be caught into like subsequent Psy Storm, but the range is really high, because it can outrange photon cannons, spore colonies, bunkers, missile turrets, whatever. And is like a floating mobile siege tank. Just to describe it. It has no attack or speed upgrade. Yeah, other than the flyer carapace and the flyer attack, which you can research in the spire. The way I did it is like this very flat thing, just so you see. Some plating around, and the Guardian is done. The Devourer is the Guardian counterpart. In a kind of a sense, is the Guardian counterpart, because it has only an anti-air attack, in opposite of the Guardian. So the Devourer is like a giant wimp. I don't know what the things that you put in the cocktail. In Italy is called the gambero. I don't know in English, but it's like yeah. The face is these like fangs and the eyes, like the head, and the body is like this. Those are like vestigial fangs. It has not a short range attack. Those are vestigial. Here is the part of the body which the spore comes from, and then when attacks, is like saying, in the game is like, and the ability of the Devourer is that 9 Devourers can attack and cast a kind of duration spell on enemy units, which is called Acid Spores. The Acid Spores enhance the attack damage that an air unit can have dealt from 1 unit to 9. So if a unit has, for example, 9 attack damage, after 9 acid spores, you have 9 attack damage plus 1 additional attack damage for each spores, so you have like 18 attack damage, for example. And it's pretty powerful because you can go with a group of 9 Devourers, cast acid spores, retreat the Devourers, and then attack with Ultralisk, and that destroy everything in your path. It's pretty cool. And the acid spores, like the plague, and like the ensnare from the queen, are abilities that have a limited time detection. While it's in its time of endurance, attack spores, acid spores can reveal cloaked enemy units. So that's it. Those are the 0 units you can do after you morphed a layer into an hive. So, hope you enjoyed. See you in the next video.